Okay, so I'm 19 years old and I am hatching a plan to murder my father. Now, my father was a good person, but as time went on, he became more and more mentally ill. And as he became more and more mentally ill and bowed over to the stress of life, he became very abusive, very abusive. And I was at that time the oldest son at home yet, and I decided this can't go on. And I was working to get dad in a hospital, but you go back to the early 1980s, and this is a very difficult thing to do sometimes, quite often. And I finally picked a date and I said, by this date, he's either going to be in the hospital. I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen, or I'm going to end this misery for myself, brother and sister at home, and my mother. So now that was not a good plan. It was not a good thing. I'm not being a hero here by any means. This is being a foolish, young. The only thing good about it is I was decisive, but that's it. The whole thing was a mistake. Thank God he did end up in a hospital, and mostly not by any actions of mine whatsoever. Other people intervened. It was quite amazing how it all worked out. But he was in a hospital, and the plan never came to fruition. But you can imagine that when someone goes into hospital in those situations and they talk to the people involved, and his doctors talked to me, and it was discovered that I had had this plan, they said, you have got to get some counseling, which was right. Okay, so Dad was in a hospital 50 miles away, but I found a local psychiatrist and started to go see him. And on the first visit was exactly what you would expect. We just got to know each other a little bit. In the second visit, I started telling him, I think without him asking, I don't honestly know, about all the things that had been going on and the abuse and how it was at home and things like that. And he let me go for a while. And then at the end of about 15 minutes, he holds up his pad was yellow and he says, Dan, have you noticed I'm not writing any of this down? I was shocked. This was important stuff, right? He goes, do you know why? Of course, I said no. I had no clue. Like I said, I was shocked. He says, because you see, we're here to make the rest of your life going forward better. And your past doesn't give you an excuse for anything you do tomorrow. You are a young man. You have the choice about what to say and what to do. And those choices and those decisions are yours. You cannot blame them on your parents or your past or anybody but yourself. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe he was saying this. And then he said, and furthermore, this is the way life works. Every day starts out with a blank sheet of paper. And you have the ability to write on that sheet of paper. It's your choice. It's your paper. It's your pen. And every day you write down what is going to gradually become your life, because at the end of every day, that sheet of paper is torn off that pad and it's put in a binder. And that happens day after day after day. And that binder ends up being your life. It's just a bunch of days put together. And you can either think about what you're putting on that paper and you can be responsible for it, or you can hand the pen to somebody else and blame them. You have a lot of choices. But in the end, if you hand that pen to somebody else, you're still responsible because you gave them the pen. So you need to take full responsibility for everything you do and say going forward. The conversation went on for a while, but I was flabbergasted. I was mad. I leave, and I don't know what happened, and I don't know when it happened, but I know I was scheduled to come back in 2 weeks, and before I came back, I realized he was right. Because I needed to own my life, and I needed to own it one day at a time. Now, knowing something and doing something are entirely different things, and it took me a long, long time to get there. But that is what we're going to talk about in this course. We're going to One, impress upon you the need to look at your days one day at a time and to be responsible for those days and be responsible for your life. And then we're going to give you some tools to help you do a better job one day at a time. And that's the goal. Now, in case you're wondering, this is a very Christian concept. You know, God says in Galatians 6, 7, and 8, he says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. Man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please the flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. And whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Think about the Our Father. If you pray it, you realize it's a prayer designed to be prayed one day at a time. Give us this day our daily bread. Not give us for the rest of our life everything we need. One day at a time, you're responsible. And that's God's way.